Hello everyone. Today we'll be talking about the cost of college. Now, why should we even care about the cost of college or financial aid or any of this? The short and very simple answer is because college is expensive. And we see here that in the past 20 to 30 years, for private institutions, the cost of college has increased from 17K to 43K, and for public institutions from 8K to 19K. And I'm actually a rising freshman about to go into college. And so I was in your shoes not so long ago. And I remember seeing these numbers and feeling shocked. Again and again, looking at the sticker price from various colleges and just wondering, why is college so expensive? What goes into this huge number? So before we even get into financial aid, we want to better understand what we're paying for. And so let's try to look at the breakdown. So the cost of college essentially has three parts. First, we have tuition. Now, tuition is what you're mainly paying for in going to college, the courses and the knowledge that you're gaining from those courses. And that's often going to be the core part of the bill. Then you have room, which is your living expenses. And this can vary whether you're on campus or off campus, and that's actually something we'll see in the examples coming up. And finally, we have board. And board is just a fancy word for food budget or meal budget. Again, you need to eat in college, right? So you're no longer going to have your parents cooking for you, and this is something you're going to have to take into account when calculating costs. Now that we know the three main components, let's actually see what this looks like from some actual universities and institutions. So what we're going to look at first is UCLA, the University of California in Los Angeles, and this is a public university in California. So we see here that we have tuition and fees at $13,000 and room and board coming to a total of around $17,000. And then, it's a little bit interesting here in that tuition and fees is kind of low comparatively. Often we'll see this number to be much larger. But either way, tuition and fees and room and board, these three categories are really making up the most of your bill. Then you have some other minor costs that we didn't mention earlier, like books and supplies, transportation, health insurance, all very important, but a little bit more minor in terms of how much they contribute. So we looked at the total, this comes up to around $37,000 for California residents. So I'm actually based in California, so if I was to go to UCLA, I would be paying around $37,000 per academic year. And this is actually relatively low comparatively. And the main reason for that is because I am an in-state student. I live in California, and this is a public university in California. And the reason behind that is because my family has been paying taxes to support the UC system. And as a result, the cost is lower. And this is going to be the case for any in-state school. I just took California and UCLA, but, for example, if you live in Michigan, that we're going to look at next. And if you're going to the University of Michigan, again, that's a public university, very important. This idea of in-state versus out-of-state tuition and the differences only for public universities, not for private. But, if you were going there, the cost would be lower if you are in-state versus out-of-state. So let's go ahead and look at that now. So here we have the University of Michigan, and if you're a Michigan resident, then that totals to around $30,000, and so lucky you guys. On the other hand, however, for people like me who are out of state, it's going to be much larger. And we have tuition $50,000, housing and meals $12,000, and then some other categories totaling to $70,000. So this is something important to take into account when looking at college costs. Is it a public university? And if so, is it in-state or out-of-state? As that can drastically change your cost. In-state, you're typically going to be given a lower cost if it's a public university compared to out-of-state. Now, finally, we have a totally different scenario, which is a private institution. So here we're looking at Carnegie Mellon University. Now, I actually was born in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where CMU is located, before moving out to California. But even if I was to still live in Pennsylvania, my cost of college would be no different because this is a private institution, so they charge the same no matter where you're coming from. And the reason for that is tax-paying dollars are not going to be going into CMU because it's a private, not a public school. and mostly they're going to be funded by other forms, so donations and various other measures. And we see here, again, we have tuition, room and board as the main components, and it's totaling to around $80,000. Now, as you've seen from these three examples, college can be quite expensive. We went from $30,000 to $70,000 to almost $80,000. So kind of the lesson here is that college is expensive, yes, but that means that you have a responsibility to try to lower that cost. And oftentimes it's easy to kind of let your parents take care of the finances. I know I did that in the beginning of the financial aid process, but I started to see that as I took more and more responsibility, I found more and more opportunities, whether that's through work study or scholarship, to lower this sticker price from this huge number to something more manageable. So hopefully this gave you an idea of how expensive college can be and gives you some motivation for trying to lower that cost. And we're definitely going to be here in these next few units to give you ideas and ways to lower this cost. So thank you so much, and I'm looking forward to seeing you next time.